Welcome to this edition of Gas South District's That's the Ticket, the ultimate podcast exploring all things Gas South District and a source for insights to events on campus and discussions on the wider entertainment and tourism industry. Please welcome the host of our show, Stan Hall, CEO of Gas South District and Explore Gwinnett.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Gas South District That's the Ticket podcast. We appreciate you taking some time to be with us this afternoon. Our guest today is Logan Serrano, Interim CEO and President of Leadership Gwinnett. We are so excited to learn about how programs offered by Leadership Gwinnett help to shape participants with unique opportunities to develop their leadership skills. And Logan, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us today to talk about the impact that Leadership Gwinnett has on our community.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the partnership.
Absolutely. Logan, let's start off by this. Tell us what led you to become involved with Leadership Gwinnett and what has been the most rewarding aspect of your role?
Absolutely. It was circa 2016. I was attending a holiday party where I actually ran into Denise Brenson, if you know her, the assistant city manager of Suwanee, and Mayor Jimmy Burnett was in attendance as well. I was kind of freshly out of college, Georgia Southern, and trying to just figure out what career path I was wanting to take. And they knew Leadership Gwinnett was hiring for a role. And so they got me connected, and fast forward a few months, I was interviewing and got the job as marketing and communications coordinator. I started the day after that horrible Falcon Super Bowl loss that year.
Remember that.
Yes, to the Patriots. So that's will always be ingrained in my memory. But for the rewarding aspect of the role, I think that it has truly been the people that I've met along the way, and learning still all the people that have had their touch on Leadership Gwinnett and vice versa. Like even my husband's dad went through Leadership Gwinnett back in the day, which is really funny. And then also just the deepening of my connections to the community. I was not born here, but pretty much raised up in Gwinnett County, met my husband at North Gwinnett High School. And then we bought a house in Sugar Hill, raising our almost 4-year-old up there and hoping to send him through GCPS school. So just really the connections to the people in the community that it's offered me.
Well, obviously the role of Leadership Gwinnett is to teach people to be better leaders in whatever aspect that may involve.
Absolutely.
So let's reverse the role a little bit with you. How has your leadership style evolved through your experiences with Leadership Gwinnett? And also tell me, who has been a significant mentor in that journey?
Well, it has definitely evolved for me. When I first started out with Leadership Gwinnett, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was fresh out of college, and I kind of like to call myself a sponge back in the beginning, just trying to learn everything I could, absorb everything that I could at the time. I often had people come up to me and they would be like, "Oh, Logan, you're so quiet, so sweet."
Was that true?
It was, I would say. I just was trying to learn as much as I could and try to build the brand of Leadership Gwinnett, of this legacy program that had been around since 1985, and just put my head down and do as much as I could. So began fostering a lot of relationships, getting connected in the community. And fast forward to only like a couple of years ago, with some staff transitions and challenges that we faced, I stepped into this interim president and CEO role, which was kind of like a baptism by fire, fast and furious path to leadership.
I've seen it, so I agree with you.
Yes. And I came to heavily rely on those relationships that I had forged and kind of cultivated through the years. And just when it all went down, a lot of people reached out to me, which was so great. I mean, you were one of them, and you've just constantly been there. But I'm just so grateful to those people that have reached out to me and the support of the community. But I think about Kim Hartsock, if you know her, with Warren Averett, and she's on our board. She was one that reached out to me specifically and said, "Hey, Logan, you're coming to my house, buying you lunch. Like, we're going to strategic plan. We're going to figure this out." And that was such a pivotal moment for me, of this powerhouse woman reaching out to me and inviting me into her home and saying, "You've got this. Like, you can do this. This is going to be your make or break kind of situation." And we got it all out on paper, got a plan in place. And I just remember that being so impactful to me. And then I want to do a shout out for Lisa Zakin, my boss and role model. She's just been such a role model for me, as I've said, and I owe a lot of who I am today to Lisa, and she's just been such a great person to know.
If you think about just the two people you've named, Kim and Lisa, I've been around here a lot longer than you have. Those are two of the strongest leaders that I know even today. So for you to be able to brush up against those and take whatever you can That's a
Absolutely.
tremendous asset for you.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I'm so grateful for about Leadership Gwinnett is just me being surrounded by all these amazing people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Logan, what advice would you give to those emerging leaders, if you will, and how do even you stay motivated, inspired in your work with the Gwinnett community?
Absolutely. I think going back and giving some advice to some emerging leaders, embrace challenges as opportunities. I think that I could have said, you know what, I'm not cut out for this. Like I didn't sign up for this with everything that happened. But I would encourage people to embrace those as opportunities. And that's what I tried to do and realize that a lot of people don't get these kind of opportunities to really kind of step up and prove yourself, or so to say, and to show up authentically and curiously. I think if we tell ourselves, oh, I'm done learning, or I don't need, or not being open to that, I think you're missing out on a lot to learn and to be innovative with. I also would recommend finding a coach or a mentor. You know, I've had a lot of people like that in my life. I think about Elisa Tony, with the Senior Director of Development at PCOM. She was one back in the day that I reached out to and just invited to coffee. I thought she was so cool, and I just wanted to get to know her. And she's turned almost into like an advocate for me. And I got to go through last year with her as my board chair, which was just so amazing.
She is amazing.
She is. I love me some Elisa. And what keeps me inspired in my work, again, I'm going to keep going back to the people. I mean, whenever I'm feeling down or feeling like I can't accomplish something, or I'm not cut out for this, I've got people that I can call and lean on that can pour into me and encourage me. There's people that I can solicit real feedback from, and they'll shoot me straight every time. So it's the people for me.
Absolutely, it is. So we're talking as if everybody listening to this podcast knows what Leadership Gwinnett does.
Right.
You and I are very familiar with it. But
Right.
So how would you describe the mission and vision of Leadership Gwinnett to those people who may not be as familiar as you and I?
Well, our mission has been the same for the most part since 1985, with a minor wordsmithing, but it's to educate, equip, and engage diverse leaders and ultimately inspire civic involvement. So we do that through programming. So we have our 3 major programs. We've got the signature 9 months Leadership Gwinnett program. We've got Glance Gwinnett, which is the 2.5-day version, which started about 10 years ago. And then we have a very robust alumni network. So it's continuing education and social events for our program graduates. So I think Gwinnett County is unique in a sense that we are now just hitting like 1 million people. We're very diverse, if not the most diverse county in the Southeast. And I think we're in a unique space that if we're not careful, people can kind of get stuck in their silos, and their siloed communities, especially with all this technology we have today. So I think Leadership Gwinnett is so brilliant at bringing people together out of their silos together over one mission, which is to talk about the issues and challenges that are facing Gwinnett County and how we can be a part of, change in Gwinnett County. So I think Leadership Gwinnett kind of strips people of those titles and those big fancy clothes, gets them off, the title thing, and getting to know people as real people. And I think that allows you to be able to have some tough conversations and then walk away as friends after and realize we really want the same things. We just might not agree about how we get there, but we value a lot of the same things. So it's not about agreement. It's really about understanding each other.
You and I have had this conversation before, but I'm very much connected to the Leadership Gwinnett organization. I am not a alumni of Leadership Gwinnett.
I know.
And I've told you before, I'm not nearly that disciplined.
You're honorary alum.
I'm an honorary member.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
So, Logan, this niche, if you will, as it relates to leadership, that's nothing new in the business corporate world. I happen to believe that it's the best program out there. But what differentiates Leadership Gwinnett from other leadership development programs, in your opinion?
Well, it's funny that you say it's the best. Because
it is the best. It is the best.
I actually have Michael Thurman. He's the CEO of DeKalb County. He's actually quoted on our website, and I asked him for permission. But he comes to speak at our retreats a lot, and he says that Leadership Gwinnett is the best of the best of leadership programs in America. So I will absolutely take that. And I think what makes Leadership Gwinnett so great, again, the people, the alumni. So we spend all of this time educating and equipping these alumni through our programming, and then we engage them back into the program after the fact. So we have 250 volunteers every year that come back and help do our programs. They're on our board, steering committee, tri chairs, planning committees, glance committee, alumni committees, all the committees. And I think we've calculated it before, and it's about 10,000 hours of work that they put into it.
Yeah.
So again, I don't think any other program brings people together quite like how we do. That
It
we're
doesn't.
cognizant of how adults learn, how programs are being put together. Is it death by PowerPoint? Who's at the table? What are we talking about? What do we need to be talking about? Pivoting, the conversations. Two more things is I think that it allows people and adults and business leaders and folks like that to just have some fun.
Yeah.
I think we're missing that component these days. And another piece that makes us unique is the confidentiality agreement, which sounds strange at first. I hear it all the time. What happens in Leadership Gwinnett stays in Leadership Gwinnett. But it allows people to have that safe space to be able to say things or have those more difficult conversations, to talk about the real nitty-gritty aspects of what's going on and not have to fear that it's going to be blasted all over social media.
Yeah,
So I think that's
I'm sure that's true. And those people listening today, I would challenge them, if they go back, Gwinnett's recipe for success has always been based on great leadership.
absolutely.
So I would challenge anybody listening today, if you go back and look at the leaders we've had for really the past 30 years or so, almost to each and every one of them went through Leadership Gwinnett.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you think about Charlotte Nash,
First class.
Wayne Hill,
Mhm.
and Nick Messino, the president of our chamber,
Chairwoman,
the
Nicole Hendrickson.
chairwoman Nicole Love Hendrickson, on and on and on and on are all
Absolutely.
alumni
Mhm.
of Leadership Gwinnett, which says to me, yes, it is the best. So
It is.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Logan, what are some of the common misconceptions about Leadership Gwinnett, and how would you clarify them if there are any?
I think that the biggest misconception that I hear about Leadership Gwinnett is that it's only for certain type of people or a certain type of individual, like business leaders or those folks that are in traditional leadership roles. And I think in reality, we want people from all different industries and backgrounds and walks of life, with the goal of creating classes that are very representative of the full diversity of Gwinnett County. So I'm talking, age, ethnicity, profession, gender, because we want our classes to look like Gwinnett County and the people that we serve. So I hear a lot of the times when people get up and give their graduation speeches at Leadership Gwinnett, like, oh, in the beginning, I felt like I didn't belong. I was in this group of all these leaders. And it's so cool at the end to help them or to see them realize that, it's their perspective that's truly valuable. And Leadership Gwinnett isn't so much about the titles as the impact that you're having in the community. So I think that's a common misconception that I would love to just kick to the curb.
So I've had the pleasure for many years now on the first real date of the entire group when they get together. To welcome that group.
Yes.
And if you look around the room, it always has that deer in the headlights look from the people sitting in there like,
orientation.
what what have I gotten into?
Absolutely.
And they go from what have I gotten into to the very end is look what I've done.
Yes.
So that's just such a tremendous metamorphosis of the whole leadership world, if you will.
I love that.
And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Is there an example you can share of the program's impact as far as participants or alumni?
Yes. And I love the opportunity to share about this one program. There's a lot of little things that I could share, but this one I think is just so impactful. I think back to a handful of years ago, there were two alums sitting in their Justice Day, which is one of the learning days where we take you to the jail and the court system and all of that. It was a lawyer and a nonprofit leader, and they were hearing from the sheriff at the time about the recidivism rates, about people who leave jail and end up, because of various circumstances, kind of falling back into the jail system. And so they got in their study group session and they were like, what can we do about this? We've got to be able to fix this. And so they got together with the sheriff and pulled together their resources and created a program called GRIP, which is Gwinnett Reentry Intervention
I'm familiar
Program.
with it.
Yeah. And it started because of the connections.
Wow,
and
I did not know that.
Yes. So we will take the credit for that.
You should.
But it ended up reducing the recidivism rate in Gwinnett County by over 60%, which I think is pretty cool, by connecting people exiting the jail system to whatever they need to get reintegrated into society. So transportation, housing, careers or jobs that would hire them and things like that. So just lots of little
That's a great
stories
example.
like that. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier in your comments, speaking of our county's diversity, and that hasn't always been the case in Gwinnett County, but it certainly is something now that we all embrace.
Yeah.
But if you think about that change, that's a very big change from what we've seen.
Absolutely.
And thinking about that, how does Leadership Gwinnett stay relevant and adapt to the county's evolving needs that we're seeing now from going from where we weren't to where we are, as you said, one of the most diverse counties in the Southeast? How do you keep up with the relevancy of that?
Absolutely. We are constantly adapting and evolving. I think if anyone's been through one of our programs, they can corroborate the story, but we ask for your evaluations before you leave the door. So we're constantly looking at how can we be better? How can we improve? No program day is ever the same. We're always looking back at what's currently happening, what's going on, what are the objectives, are they still relevant? And then I want to go back to the volunteers again, those 250 people that we plug back into the organization. We have a 4-page organizational chart. We have a board, a stellar board that's super involved, and they set the priorities of the organization and advise us on the directions to take. We have a very dedicated steering committee that's constantly revising those objectives and looking at those evaluations, making sure there's no overlap. Are we talking about the most important topics? So I think it's so cool that we can educate and equip these alums and bring them back into it to engage them in the program. And we're very fortunate to be able to have the diversity of thought and experience and the breadth of knowledge that's at the table when we plan our programming. Another thing that we do is we're a part of a group called the Association of Leadership Programs, ALP. And it's a conference that we do every year that we go to with them. And then it's all these other connections and meetings that we have throughout the year where we kind of benchmark ourselves off of other leadership programs that are kind of doing the same thing, but in other areas. And it's just really cool to stay abreast of like the best practices and what are they doing, what's working for them, what's not, how do they do their retreats and things of that nature, and just keeping those connections open. I'm actually talking with Leadership Atlanta tomorrow just to see what they're up to and what they're doing. So that's how we stay relevant.
Maybe you can teach them a few things.
We've taught a few classes at the conferences, which is funny you say that.
So, Logan, what role does you keep talking about the powerhouse alumni you have, but what role does networking play in the program, and how does it benefit the participants?
So it's funny. I don't typically use the term networking, especially when I'm doing a lot of marketing for Leadership Gwinnett, because to me, it's so much more than networking. It's about building relationships that far outlast what your typical like networking event might do.
Yeah.
So I mentioned before about, I think I did, the retreats that we do and how it's so good at stripping people of those titles, getting them off base, and let's like get to know each other on a personal level. And then we can dive into the more difficult stuff like the content, those learning days where we talk about the good, bad, the ugly. And then we can debrief and get into those study group sessions where we have those more intimate conversations. And I think that's where the real kind of work happens. And so to me, it's so much more than just networking. It's not one of those events where, hi, I'm Logan and here's the elevator pitch. It's I'm Logan and you know me as a real person. You can call me anytime. So it's to me, it's a little bit different. I mean, it's still very important, but we're so much more than networking.
You've heard me give that pitch, haven't you?
Probably. Yeah.
Maybe you
kind of sometimes have to start there. Like, here's Logan, here's what I do, but we're more than that.
So, Logan, what are the goals? We've talked a little bit about the history of Leadership Gwinnett and what a dynamic history it is, but what's some of the goals for the future of Leadership Gwinnett and its continuing impact, I should say, on our county?
Well, my goals that I have for the organization are to just continue to grow Leadership Gwinnett's impact and our reach. And again, as I've mentioned before, to continue reflecting the beautiful diversity of Gwinnett County. So whether that looks like improving and expanding our current programs or potentially even offering new programs. It's been a dream of mine to create a Spanish-speaking program, which is in the works, which I'm very excited about, and our team is too.
Wow.
And potentially like even a program for people who are interested in running for public office, like servant leadership and what that looks like. If it were up to me, I don't think it's legal, but I would love if everyone who runs for office had to do, a program like Leadership Gwinnett, because I don't think you can truly lead your community without knowing your community and the people that live here.
That is so interesting because, they have a program at UGA at Carl Vinson but that's after you're elected. They put you through some sort of a leadership program to sort of get you into that governmental role.
Right.
But to be able to do it for people who are aspiring at this level, I love that idea.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well,
that'd be a great idea.
Running with that one.
So, we talked a little bit about some of the famous, I'll use that term, alumni that have been through your program.
Yes.
But how do you think, I know what my opinion is, but how do you think Leadership Gwinnett shaped the leadership landscape in this county?
Well, we actually, Stan, had Deloitte come out a couple years ago, 2018, 2019, to do a study to help us kind of quantify what that impact looked like. And they interviewed a lot of our alums and a lot of surrounding organizations in the community and even other states of leadership programs just to get a better understanding of the impact we were making. And I brought a couple of stats, and I'm just going to share just four because I think it's really cool and it actually gives some numbers to what we do. After surveying our alumni, they found that 100% of them are more knowledgeable about issues unique to Gwinnett County, obviously. 98% of them now consider themselves to be effective leaders. 90% of them are better connected to Gwinnett's decision makers. And then over 70% of our alumni serve on boards and committees within our community. So I think it's safe to say that we are impacting the people that go through our programs, but they're also turning around and impacting the community. As you mentioned before about the people that, like Charlotte Nash and these folks the famous folks in Gwinnett. I mean, I think every corner of Gwinnett that you look in, it has the fingerprint of a Leadership Gwinnett alum. I mean, you look at judges, senators, representatives, nonprofit leaders, the business community, the chamber, ARC,
no doubt,
mayors, city council members, all across Gwinnett
and
County.
The corporate world.
And the corporate world,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's people that have been through Leadership Gwinnett. You mentioned Nicole Hendrickson, our wonderful chairwoman, past and current school attendants as well. Beauty Baldwin was a part of, this founding steering committee. Alvin Wilbanks.
One of the most fabulous women I've ever met in my life.
She's incredible. It's such a pleasure to get to hear her speak when she comes
fabulous.
to speak. So we have actually trademarked the term Gwinnett Glue, which is kind of a great way of describing what Leadership Gwinnett does. And it's truly because Leadership Gwinnett is that substance that bonds and binds the community together and can really smooth out those rough surfaces and then even potentially mend things that are broken. And I think that's kind of a great way of describing what it is that we do.
I love that.
Yeah,
so since I'm not a graduate, I can at least be the shoe to the glue and have some attachment.
Yes.
See what we did?
The glue. Yes.
So Logan, let's talk about two things as we wrap up here. Number one, for those people who have an interest in joining this elite group of leaders, eventually becoming an alumni, how do they get involved? And then secondly, how can just community members and business leaders support all the things that Leadership Gwinnett is doing?
Yes, absolutely. So kind of a two-part question there. Get involved first and foremost, but how you get involved, put your people through our programs, do one of our programs, find the time to do it. I think when you can invest in yourself or even your employees, it's going to come back on you twofold. You're going to get stronger leaders within your organizations, but you're going to be getting a stronger community because of what you're investing in. And then, of course, we would never turn down sponsorships and partnerships. And so grateful to Gas South District for the sponsor or the partnership that we have with y'all.
Absolutely.
Even just allowing the use of the space here to show off what great stuff that you have. And I mean, that's super awesome for us. So Leadership Gwinnett applications open in January. So for the class of 2026, be on the lookout. And
you have to be nominated, right? Or?
Well, you can even nominate yourself.
Okay.
So that's just
keep that in mind.
Yes, you can. Self-nominations are accepted, but it does help. So nominate year-round online. Absolutely. And just try out one of the programs. Drink a little bit of the Kool-Aid. You'll be glad you did.
No, I completely believe that. Well, we are looking forward to seeing what more leadership can do on top of what they've been doing here for a long time. And it really is. I can only express my appreciation to the job that you do, the job that Lisa has done for many years, but more importantly, the entire organization and everything that exemplifies. Thank you for that so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
So Logan, thank you for, again, for joining us today. And we talked a little bit about people that might be looking for information about the multitude of programs available. What is the best place to visit again? Just the website or whatever that might be?
I should have mentioned leadershipgwinnett.com, but please reach out to me. My actual cell number is on the website, so feel free to call me.
Yes.
I would love to get a cup of coffee with you and just talk through what Leadership Gwinnett looks like. What's the commitment for you? What's in it for you? And what that looks like, and even Glance Gwinnett, our other program as well.
Well, thank you again. We sure do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have today. Be sure to check out gassouthdistrict.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of Gas South District, That's the Ticket, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again for joining us today. We'll return soon for another episode of That's the Ticket. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. For show notes and further information about Gas South District and upcoming events, please visit our website at gassouthdistrict.com. That's the ticket.